Hello everybody, I'm Rowan6 with Rowan6 Entertainment, and welcome to a new series, a audiobook series of my fanfiction, Transformers, Heroes in Disguise. The background art for this fanfiction is created by me. If you're interested in me doing art commissions for you, the link to my business Discord is down below. There's also a link to my community Discord, as well as the fanfiction link. There is also a link to my DeviantArt account. Thank you, and enjoy the video.
Chapter 3. Izuku was in an inky black void with a single light source that hovered over him. The last thing he remembered was touching that cube and pain. He did remember that voice and what it said. But that was a while ago. He knew that, although he did not know how long a while ago was. Was it hours? Was it days? Was it weeks? Was it years? This Izuku did not know. He just existed in a state of limbo as he felt his body burn all over. He couldn't move or stop the pain, it just persisted and persisted and persisted. It was agonizing as it slowly engulfed his entire body. But once his body was entirely engulfed, the pain stopped. But his body did not feel the same, something was different, and that terrified him. What did that cube do to him? Did it kill him? Was he dead? If this was death, he did not know if it was worse than living. Out of nowhere, memories that he tried to keep buried washed over him like a wave. Every memory felt like he was there, reliving everything from the mocking comments and scathing glares that he received from everybody at school to the pain that Bakugo inflicted upon him every day. His doubts and his depressing thoughts all flashed through his mind all at once. Izuku jolted up from the medbay with a scream. Ratchet, who was monitoring him, was quick to react as he attempted to calm the boy down. It was obvious to Ratchet that the boy was panicking, and he was right, Izuku was panicking. He was looking around in absolute fright as he noticed Ratchet. Izuku didn't bat an eye at Ratchet's appearance, though being around people with mutant quirks tends to do that to somebody. What he was more concerned about was the state of his body. The second that he saw it brought his already panicking mind higher than it should. Hearing the screams from the medbay, Arachnid ran inside. Seeing the boy panicking and Ratchet trying to help, she rushed over. The boy was looking over his body, most likely panicking because of it. Yeah, she would probably panic too if she were in his position. Grabbing him by the shoulders, she used a combination of Cybertronian calming techniques. It took a couple of minutes, but the boy eventually calmed down. When he did, he looked at the two and asked some questions. Who are you and what happened to me? Even though Izuku was a lot calmer, he was still freaking out. Well, that's Ratchet, he's our medic, and I'm Arachnid. But before I answer what happened to you, what was the last thing you remember? Arachnid asks, attempting to see what the boy remembered. She was still a little nervous about the data retrieval procedure and she was afraid of him having complete memory loss. I was in a room with a cube, it brought me there. When I touched it I felt so much pain and I heard a voice and then I woke up here. Izuku said as he tried to get a handle on himself. Do you remember anything before that? Are there gaps in your memory? Arachnid asks calmly. No, I don't think so. I remember who I am, and in fact, I think I might have a better memory. I can perfectly recall certain events that I am sure I have forgotten. Izuku said, a little confused and surprised. After all, he can remember everything that he had experienced with perfect clarity, like what flavor of cake he ate for his very first birthday. Arachnid gave out a relieved sigh at his words before speaking up again. That's good. Okay, now you need to listen to me very carefully and stay calm, okay? Can you do that for me? Arachnid asked, and when Izuku gave her a nod of confirmation, she continued. That cube was the Allspark. It's a Cybertronian artifact from our home planet. When you touched it, it merged with you and turned you into one of us. Arachnid said as calmly as possible in hopes not to make the boy panic again. Izuku's eyes widened at her words as he processed the information that she said to him. You are aliens. Izuku said in a mixture of awe and realization. Was he seriously meeting aliens? Wait, does this make him the first human to actually meet an alien? But then the rest of her words sank in just as deeply as that realization. And I'm not human anymore, am I? Izuku asked, as he looked down at his hands, and he knew he wasn't human anymore. His mechanical body, which was one clean slate of silverish metal, with blue lights in between certain gaps in his metal plating. He actually wondered why he did not have any coloring like the other two had. Do they paint themselves? Does that mean he needs to dash? Izuku was brought out of his thoughts quickly, as Ratchet spoke up. Although your physiology is completely Cybertronian, there are still parts of your CNA that are from your original species. But in short terms, no, you're not human anymore. Ratchet said, attempting to comfort the boy. This left the room in silence for a bit before Izuku spoke up. What happens now? Izuku asked downtrodden. Well, I had volunteered to be your guardian. If that's okay with you. Arachnid said as she put his hands into hers. She had discussed this with Optimus. Originally, Optimus wanted to do it, but she pointed out that he was already Archie's guardian. So it was decided that if he wanted to, she would take care of him. Guardian? Izuku asked, confused, was this like some type of alien form of adoption? No, that could not be right, he was a worthless Deku, and nobody wanted him. Yes, guardian. You know, an adult who takes care of you and teaches you. Ratchet said like he was explaining it to a child. Wait, are you talking about adopting me? Izuku exclaimed in shock. No, this had to be some kind of cruel joke. Well, technically. But I didn't expect you to see me as a mother. Arachnid said a bit nervously. She had looked up the word after connecting to what they call the internet in an attempt to get information on the boy. And even though there were some differences, the general concept was the same. They knew the boy was parentless due to the memories, but she needed to confirm that he wasn't in anyone else's custody. Or had any friends or families that she needed to contact. But before Izuku could say something, Ratchet spoke up. Before you say anything, kid, you need to know something first. For security reasons, which our leader Optimus will go over with you later. We did a data retrieval on your memory core. I won't go into too much detail. But in short, we saw your memories and what you went through, kid. You should know Arachnid went through something similar, and that's why she's willing to take care of you. Ratchet said, which made Izuku's eyes go wide in shock. Then the room fell silent for a minute. Which made Arachnid a bit nervous. She was about to decline the offer and let it be, but before she could, Izuku spoke up. Okay. I'm fine with that. Izuku said with a shaky smile. He did not want to make the kind woman who had offered to take care of him sad in any way. But when Arachnid returned his smile, that in some way reminded him of his mother's comforting smile, before the diagnosis, he could not help but feel at ease. "Well, once I'm done with your checkup, I'll let Arachnid take you off my hands," Ratchet said, matching their smile before getting to work. Izuku watched him as he worked. He was fascinated by the equipment that he used on him. He wanted to ask so many questions, but he was afraid to. The two were so nice, and he did not want to make a nuisance of himself. But Ratchet saw this and encouraged him to ask questions. He really did not mind, if the psych report that Arachnid made on him was anything to go by. The boy was highly intelligent. Who was he to deny knowledge to an intelligent mind? Certainly not him. It took a couple of minutes of reassuring him, but Izuku eventually started asking questions, which Ratchet was all too happy to answer. However, when Izuku started mumbling about theoretical applications of the frequency scanner, it was when they lost him, as he started to mumble. None of them wanted to knock him out of his mumbling, though. Especially since they both could still understand him thanks to Cybertronians having the ability to process information a lot faster. Not to mention that Ratchet was way more fascinated by what he was mumbling about. Arachnid was in the same boat, especially since she's never going to look at a frequency scanner the same way again. An hour later. For a full hour, Izuku had to relearn how to walk. Well, being turned into an 11-foot-tall Cybertronian would do that to a person. Izuku didn't notice that he was actually that big due to the scale of the room designed for Cybertronians in the first place. In fact, he only noticed when Ratchet had pointed it out. This of all things made Izuku worry about school. It wasn't his appearance that brought this to his mind, but the fact that he couldn't fit through the door. Arachnid asked why he wanted to even go to the place that abused him, and if he could just go to another one. Yeah, she and Ratchet, along with Optimus, went through his memories, but it wasn't like they went through every single detail of it. That would have taken them just as long as Izuku had started forming memories. But she knew enough to know that going back to that school was a bad idea. Izuku wanted to protest, but he did not know if he could actually handle another day at Aldera. So he suggested online schooling. But that was only going to work until the end of the year, when he needed to go to high school. Arachnid did not know what to do about his high school education. But that was a bridge they would cross down the road. But for now, since Izuku could walk, she was going to introduce him to everybody. The two entered the common area where all the Autobots were. As they entered, all attention was now focused on them. But Optimus was the first to step forward and speak. "Young Izuku, I am Optimus Prime. It is a pleasure to meet you. But before I introduce you to the rest of our group, I need to say something first. I would like to apologize for doing a data retrieval on your memory core. You should know what I did was against standard procedure and violated your Cybertronian rights. As such, I would like to apologize," Optimus Prime said as he bowed his head. Izuku was stunned. He was not expecting this from him. Even though he felt a little uncomfortable at the fact that somebody had gone through his memories. But Izuku could understand why he did it. He was an unknown. "It's all right, I understand why you did it. Yeah, I feel a little uncomfortable about the fact that you went through my memories. But it's understandable, I was an unknown. Just tell me this though, was there another way besides doing what you did? Or were you left with no choice? Izuku asked. I had no choice in the matter other than doing more traditional questioning, which would only work after you had fully merged with the Allspark. The danger of the Allspark falling into the wrong hands was too great. I couldn't allow my crew and your people to be put in such danger, Optimus Prime said, and Izuku nodded at his words. Izuku did not know how, but he could feel the power that the Allspark represented. If it fell into the wrong hands, a lot of people could die. Okay, apology accepted, Izuku said, smiling up at Optimus reassuringly. I am grateful for your acceptance. Now, let me introduce the rest of my comrades. The big green one over there is Bulkhead, Optimus said, beginning with Bulkhead. Yo kid, it's good to meet you, Bulkhead said boisterously before Optimus continued. Over there is Bumblebee, he's our expert in scouting, Optimus said, pointing at Bumblebee. Nice to meet you, but you can just call me B. B said, which consisted of beeps and whistling noises. Izuku noticed this but somehow still understood him, which was weird. He will have to ask Ratchet and Arachnid about it later. He did not want to interrupt the introductions after all. And last but not least, this is my young charge, Archie. She's actually around your age, and as such, she is going to be your partner, Optimus said, pointing to Archie, who looked shocked at his statement. Wait, he's going to be my partner, but I thought I was going to be partnered with Arachnid, Archie said, shocked and confused. That was originally going to be the case. But it's tradition to have a partner around your age, especially when you're starting out, Optimus said, causing Archie to sigh in acceptance. Archie didn't really care, but she guessed it would be good to have somebody working with her around her age. Arachnid was fine and all, but she was like several million years her senior. Her thoughts were cut off by the voice of Izuku. What do you mean by partners? Izuku asked, curious. But before Optimus could explain, Bulkhead spoke up. It's a kind of tradition, especially with the smaller bots like extermination units like you, Archie, and Arachnid are. Bulkhead said, causing Izuku's eyes to widen. Extermination units. Izuku stuttered out in surprise. What did he mean by extermination units? Were they designed to be killers? Arachnid saw what was happening and knew what he was probably thinking, so she quickly spoke up. It's not what you think, kid. Extermination units get the name because they exterminate pests that the Cybertronian government has marked as such. We're talking large rodents and other things like that, Arachnid said, rubbing her eyebrow in annoyance. Honestly, Bulkhead should have phrased it a lot better. But luckily, that seemed to do the trick in calming him down. Are there other units, and how is somebody slotted into that category? Izuku asked, now curious about the subject. But everybody looked uncomfortable about the question. Seeing this, Arachnid spoke up. The old Cybertronian government worked around a caste system. What caste you were part of was decided by how you were born, as well as who your parents were. Once your caste was decided, you were expected to perform the job you were given, which consisted of management, enforcers, builders, workers, and then finally extermination units. Small Cybertronians like you, me, and Archie would be classified as extermination units. Remember when Ratchet told you that my upbringing was similar to yours? That's because extermination units were looked at and treated as the same as the insects and rats that we had to kill. We were also seen as expendable units to be thrown at a problem until it was fixed. But that was the old Cybertronian government before it collapsed due to the Civil War. Arachnid said, frowning at having to remember those times. Civil War. There was a civil war. Izuku asked as shock and curiosity were evident in his tone. But instead of Arachnid speaking this time, it was Optimus who spoke up. Yes, there is a civil war. It damaged our planet beyond repair, causing the survivors, including us, to leave Cybertron. But I think the history lesson could wait, especially since Ratchet will be in charge of your studies. Optimus said, causing Izuku to nod slowly at that. But before Optimus continued, Bulkhead spoke up. Well, speaking of traditions, Arachnid, are you going to paint the kid? You're his guardian, right? Bulkhead said as everybody looked at him. I'm only asking because I found various cans of paint in storage. Bulkhead said nervously. But this whole interaction confused Izuku, and he decided to make that confusion known. Painting? That isn't your natural skin tone or... I mean... metal tone? Izuku asked, confused. Sigh, I didn't want to bring this up until you were more comfortable around us. But to answer your question, no, this isn't our natural coloring. The tradition that Bulkhead speaks of is when a parent paints their child. I personally thought it would be too soon to bring this up, especially when I didn't want to push you. Arachnid said, giving Bulkhead an annoyed glare as she did so. Izuku remains quiet, though, as he processes her words. This woman had already shown him a lot of affection than he was used to. His old mother was not really affectionate towards him ever since his diagnosis. The woman was barely home and rarely talked to him. All she did was give him 3 meals a day, a roof over his head, and a small allowance. After she died in a villain attack, Izuku felt less empty than he thought he would. It didn't mean it didn't hurt him, it hurt a lot. But he was expecting a lot more from her loss. But before he could go deeper into his darker thoughts on the subject, they were cut off by the voice of Arachnid. I don't have to do it if you don't want to. Ratchet could make a machine or something to do it automatically for you. Arachnid said hesitantly, which was evident in her tone. It's not like she did not want to do it, on the contrary, it was the opposite. She would be quite happy to do it. She just did not want to push Izuku into doing anything he didn't want to. Izuku caught the hesitancy in her tone and made a decision. I would like you to do it. Izuku said as he gave her a warm smile. This woman had shown him so much care ever since he woke up. And he could tell that she really wanted to do this for him. So if letting her do this for him made her happy, he would do it. Arachnid, hearing his answer, gave him a happy and warm smile that made him feel a warm sensation in his chest that he had not felt in years. Perhaps with these people, he could find what was missing in his life. Perhaps he could finally find people who accepted him for who he was and not how he was born.
Make sure you guys like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!